I was able to 15x my net worth over the last 4 years. You may ask, how did I do this? Well, I did it through these two secrets that I found that nobody really talks about. They don't talk about how you actually do it. People will say, oh, it takes money to make money. Not true. They say it takes experience to make money. I would say that is also not true. I'm going to get into kind of how exactly I did this and the two secrets that helped me to get there. Go ahead and smash that like button. We're going to go over this in a couple awesome steps, and we're going to have a great quote at the end. Let's jump into it. All right, so these two secrets that helped me to increase my net worth by 15x in the last 4 years. I've watched other people do this as well. I have a friend who was able to raise $10 million for real estate deals in 10 months while still working his full-time job. It's been really impressive to watch him, but he took action. So as you listen to this, just be ready to take action, because it's not just something, this is not going to be passive learning. This is going to be something that you can take notes and really start to implement in your own life. So the first most important thing is networking. And now you may have an idea of what networking really is, but in reality, networking is getting out and meeting new people and really trying to absorb the information that they can teach you, things that they can help you learn, right? So how do you do this? Well, it's important that you go to events. If you live in a large metro, you'll find meetups, you'll find things you can go to locally, whether it's real estate or investing or business networking meetups. You just go to a lot of meetups. You're going to be able to meet some really interesting people. Another thing is national conferences. I go to a lot of national conferences, usually about 12 a year, where I meet very interesting people that are very serious investors, either very wealthy or very serious that are on their way. Now, when you're there, it's really important that you stay engaged and you ask questions, right? You can be there and be a wallflower, but that's not going to benefit you at all. So when you're there, you actually want to start having conversations. You want to be very curious about the experience of how some of these people were able to grow their wealth or what they're focused on. And when you're talking to them, it's important that you don't just ask, hey, what's going well, but you want to ask them, what is the biggest challenge in your business? Now that question is a very interesting question, because successful people they're constantly trying to find a way to solve problems. And that's how people get paid in the world, and business is solving other people's problems. So and they're asking that question about their business all the time. But if you come around and you say, hey, what's the biggest challenge in your business? You've set yourself apart from 99% of the other people that are not asking that person that question. And especially people that are really successful, everybody comes to them and says, hey, I want you to mentor me. Hey, I want this, or show me how to do this, whatever. Is if you just show up and say, hey, tell me how this aspect of your business works, or can I help you solve a problem here? It will really set you apart to be someone that can at least be thinking the way that this person is. And maybe, just maybe, you might be able to be someone that can help solve a problem for that person. It could develop into a partnership. I've seen that in my own life, and that's one of the secrets that I was able to do through networking. So that's something that's really important. Another thing you can do is, as you talk more, everybody loves talking about their successes, but another great question is to say, tell me about something that didn't go as planned. Tell me about a challenge or something that didn't go well. And people that are very successful, a lot of times, they're very willing to open up and share about these challenges. And it's been said that a wise man learns from their own mistakes, but a genius learns from the mistakes of others. So if you're willing to learn, you're really able to get in there, you will save yourself a lot of heartache by being able to ask those questions and get answers to those questions. And also you'll get to kind of a deeper level typically with the people that you're talking with. Also follow up, don't just let it be a networking event, but get a card, try to exchange information and find a way, see if you can kind of follow up with this person. Now, you might be saying, hey, Bronson, that's great, but I'm introverted and I just don't like going to conferences and events. And I was like, I totally get that. I understand that. Well, I have a good friend, his name is Robert Helms. He's one of the partners of the real estate guys. Both him and his business partner, Russell Gray, they are both introverts. And so they do these live events, and Robert says, my introversion doesn't serve me in those events. So I just show up and I become more extroverted. And so again, it doesn't mean you have to do it all the time, but again, just find out, does the introversion actually serve you, or does that element of who you felt like you've been, does that serve you in that situation? If it doesn't, be willing to just step out of your comfort zone. So that's one excuse. We also have a lot of other excuses. You say, it's Thursday night, I'm kind of tired, I don't want to fight traffic and go across town and go to this event. And I totally get it, and I've been there, and I get it. but it really comes down to kind of the cost benefit, right? If I put in the time now, if I pay now in the sense of my time, if I pay now in the sense of just getting out there and doing it, I'm going to have a lot of benefit later. And so I've had, a few years of just where I did that, where I would do much more of, I would say, a little bit of a grind, where I'm hustling at my job and I'm also doing these things on the side. I'm going to meetups, but it really pays off a lot in the long term. All right, so the second secret to growing your wealth is through education. Just because you don't know it doesn't mean you can't learn it, and it may not be as hard as you think. There are online trainings about all sorts of different topics. There are ways you can learn things. We actually do an event called the Bronson Equity Monthly Series, where we go over either inflation and how to position yourself during inflation, or we go over multifamily investing. So you can check that out with some of our resources. We have live events. Other groups have live events. There's places you can go to learn where people will teach you directly how to do a certain skill set or how to grow your wealth. So very important to look at that. YouTube, just as like what you're doing right here, educating yourself on growing your wealth and your knowledge, which is awesome. Now, I am a huge reader. Reading is also a great way to educate yourself. My dad said, growing up, said, when you have a book, it becomes a tutor that helps teach you on a particular topic. My goal this year in 2022 is to read 60 books, right? That's a pretty lofty goal. Well, how can you even do that? Well, I love, I'll read for a few minutes each night. And then I'll also, when I'm out running or I'm out driving or something, I'll put an audiobook on, which you can actually get from the library. You can download audiobooks and you can listen to them, which is phenomenal. Now, there's a great book here. This is called The Slight Edge by a guy named Jeff Olson. And this book is phenomenal because what it says to me is everything that you do has a exponential positive or negative effect. Now, if I start smoking, I'm not going to die today or tomorrow or next week or next year, but in 10, 20, 30 years, I may have some pretty negative repercussions from that. So that has a very negative effect over time, right? So we make our habits and our habits really make us. But if I choose to be physically active and eat well, I may benefit just a little from that today, or may feel a little better, but in 10, 20, 30 years, there'll be an exponential effect of doing that. It's the same with reading books and learning. So this book is a great book, talks about that. I encourage you to do that. And the final thing you can do to really grow your wealth is not just networking and education, but it is taking action. And I can't stress this enough. Tony Robbins says this. He says, knowing is not enough. You must take action. This is one of my quotes, life has an action bias. And what I mean by that is if you just simply start taking action, you just start going to events, you just start reading books and you try different things. It took me a year just to kind of figure out what direction I was going, but I learned a lot as I was going along, and it benefited me by being able to figure out what the next steps were. So if you just kind of get in motion and you start moving, you will figure it out on the way, but you have to take action. So I want to say something to you. It's just for you, you can do it. You can grow your wealth. I don't know what the reason you are trying to do it. I do think a strong why is very important. One of my big whys is trying to end human slavery in the world. Today in 2022, there's 20 to 40 million human slaves today, which is just staggering, but I do feel like it can be ended, or at least can be significantly reduced. And so that's one of my big whys. I also want to be a great dad. You can see my daughter over here in the picture. And I want to be a great dad. Those are some great whys for me. So for you, if you have a big why of why you want to do this and it's strong enough, it's not just I want to live on the beach and travel more, which that's great too. But if you have a real sense of purpose, it is totally possible that you can grow your net worth. You can experience financial freedom and have time. Really, freedom of time is the greatest freedom. So right now, I hope that you commit, you go for it, you give it 110%. I want to share this quote with you that I think will help you. It comes from my cousin, Napoleon Hill. I actually wish it was my cousin, but it's not, but we have the same last name, so I can say that. So he says, if you're not earning while you're learning, you are cheating yourself out of the better portion of your compensation. So you know what, whatever you're doing, learn while you're doing it. And while you're working, learn in all of those things. Ask questions, be curious, continue to learn. If somebody else has done it, you can absolutely do it. If you're interested in being more productive, you can check out this video. It's how to get 5 more hours out of a day, how you can find 5 more hours in the day. Great video. And then I want to see in the comments below, what are you doing this week to educate and network? And stick that down in the comments. Would love to see that. Consider subscribing, sharing this video, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.